Welcome to Inquiry 2.0. As promised, this is an upload on Malcolm Price, the legendary Welsh street fighter. He is also a talented boxer, and he merged the boxing with his street fighting skills to survive the doors and to be the hardest man in Wales over a number of years until he sort of retired around his 50s. Now, this is a chapter from his excellent book, and I'm going to leave a link in the description where you can actually purchase the book and read the full account. Now, this is chapter 3, and it's called Malcolm Price GBH. So if you can smash the likes out there, guys, without any further ado, let's crack on with it. Eventually, I became a pro boxer, first boxing at light heavyweight. My last amateur fight was against Peter Rocky Nelson. I won. This spurred me on to become a pro, and Eddie Thomas was all for it. In my first professional fight, I was billed to fight Steve Walsh, who was from up the country. But I ended up fighting a guy called Carlton Prince Crowley, a big black lad from London. And I think it was my first pro fight too. I won that and knocked him clean out. So there I was winning my first fight as a pro, and I was just on the cusp of the pro circuit. Even though I had just turned pro, I still liked to get out for a drink or two and spend the night gallivanting around, painting the town red. I was in the pub one night, the Swan, and there was a bit of trouble. One fella called me an effing get, and he went on to push me out of the way. So I gave him an effing bang straight on the button, and down he went like a new road being laid out for all to walk on. He was lying there with his broken teeth, shining through his burst lips like the glimmering cat's eyes on a motorway. I grabbed at my half-empty glass and smashed it off the bar counter, sending a shower of glass and beer all over the place. Without a second thought, when he was down on the ground, I gave him a glass pie in the face, a swiping blow. Even though he tried to move away, I was too quick for him. The crowd in the place went crazy. I didn't know how many were there with him or what would happen next. I was in fighting mode and at my most dangerous. Afterwards, I knew in my mind that I shouldn't have done that. It was the wrong thing to do, and how I kicked myself for doing it. My testosterone levels must have been full to overflowing. I had the man on the ground and should have just put the boot in. After this incident, I just used to give them the taste of leather from my footwear. Well, apart from just one other time. I just thought this man I set about with a glass had a scratch on him, as he only bled a little bit. I didn't stick him directly in the face or anything. It was just a quick reaction, which I thought was one of self-defense. I thought that if he couldn't get up, then that was the best way to deal with it. I still don't know why I did that. I was rightfully booked for malicious wounding, but I shouldn't have done that. It effed me all to pot. It was heaving in the pub that night, and all the glasses were flying around like confetti. Everyone started to fight everyone else. The place was a wreck. You could hear the glasses around the bottles flying about. Jim Mulligan, an old Irish fellow, was keeping it. He was one of the best people I've ever met, and Christ, I didn't think that all the pub was going to start, but it did, and every effort was fighting. There were chairs going over your head and bodies were flying everywhere. That night, they wrecked the place. The fight started when a man told me to get out of his way when I was stood at the bar. He had an accent, and I knew he wasn't from Merthyr. I said, "Who the effing hell are you to shout at me like that?" Then he went at me with his arm. I said again, "Who the effing hell do you think you are?" And that was it. I just banged him, and down he went. After that, I was in demand by pub and club owners, and I started doing a lot of bouncing around a lot of different clubs. I was in real demand. I remember this time I was called on to sort out some trouble in a club in Ponty. I was told that this big karate guy and his mates were causing trouble there, and they were too hard for the local boys to sort out. So this night I breezed into the place and I asked the owner to point out this troublemaker and his pals. There they were, sitting down and drinking. I strolled casually across to the group, picked up a nearby stool and smashed it down on this big guy's head. I knocked this troublemaker out like a light, and his head was well bashed in. I said to the rest of this fellow's mates, "Anyone else want the same?" This fellow mates are shitless and too scared to make a move to help him. I said, "That'll be the end of the trouble then, boys," and I walked off and never had to be called back to deal with them again. The malicious wounding charge stemmed from the glassing soon caught up with me, and I was given 6 months imprisonment, which wasn't a bad result. Nowadays, such a charge would warrant at least a 3 or 4 stretch, so I was damn lucky at 6 months. I'd been in a lot of trouble down the street before that with my street fighting antics. I can't recall my first street fight, but it would have taken place on a Friday or Saturday night, as that's when things began to happen. I remember one fellow, I was hitting him and his head crashed straight through a shop window down in Aberfan. Whilst I was working this man over, his wife was jabbing me with the pointed end of her umbrella. The fight happened because when we got up to dance, this well-built guy hit one of my mates who was smaller than him. The fight I had with him took place out on the street. and his head was put neatly into the shop window, a television shop. I got booked for the window, the assault, and heaven knows where else. The man's face, when I finished with him, looked like crumpled paper. I've had loads of street fights since then, too many for me to remember. My professional boxing career was now firmly on hold. In fact, I had my boxing license revoked because of the outstanding malicious wounding charge. Eventually, after a couple of years and a lot of fighting and keeping my nose clean, I got my license back. I had to buckle down and stop the malarking around that I was getting involved in. But somehow I just couldn't keep my nose clean. This time I was down in Porthcawl. I went into this pub with about 5 of my mates from Merthyr. We were staying over for a week of boozing. There was Mike Mahoney, Ginger Harris, Roy Elliott, and a few other boys. Sat at the bar, at the far end of the bar, was a pro boxer, a Welsh champion, who should remain nameless to save him embarrassment, who was due to fight for the British title. This boxer had a run-in with a fellow who had his girlfriend with him. The boxer said to the fellow, "I'm giving you now 5 minutes to F off out the pub, or I'll knock you around the pub." The boy he was talking to was embarrassed, as he knew who was talking to him, and he drank up his pint and F'd off out the bar. With this, the boxer's mates were laughing. 5 minutes later, I went over to the boxer's table and I said, "Hey, F-face, I'm giving you 5 minutes to drink that pint up and F off, or I'm going to kick you all around this effing bar." I returned to the table where my mates were sitting. Mike Mahoney said, "Pricey, let it go." But after 4 minutes, the boxer was up, gone, and his mates followed him. All that week, any pub I went into, if the boxer was there, he'd get up and leave. I just hate bullies, and this man was throwing his weight around. So I just gave him a taste of his own medicine. He shouldn't have shamed the fellow the way he did in front of his woman. The fellow wasn't a fighter or anything like that. He was just a normal bloke. Just because this man was a Welsh champion, having a shot at the British title doesn't mean two monkeys to me, and he knew it. It's one thing to have a fight in the ring, but on the cobbles it's a different matter. I had just come out of prison, I was ultra fit, and I just got my boxing license back. This boxer was going to end up in hospital for a week or two if he hadn't walked out of that bar and he knew it. Why fight for a British title and then pick on someone who couldn't even put on a boxing glove? They all knew I was in Porthcawl and I was renowned in the valleys. We'd heard there that was a new Indian restaurant in town. There weren't that many Indian restaurants around then, and this one was new, so we thought we'd give it a try. After about half hour of being there, someone started and I knocked him out cold. I went to go for his pal, but he ran out of the place. I sat back down and finished my grub. When I got up after the meal and went outside, there was this fellow who had run out of the restaurant earlier. He was standing there in the middle of the street with a 12-bore shotty. "Look, Pricey, look at this," said Mike Mahoney. The fellow standing there with the gun said, "I know you're Malcolm Price. If I kill you, I'll get away with it. You put a hand on me this week in this town, and I'll come for you, and I'll kill you. I'll effing shoot you, but it's the only chance I've got against you. I could kill you and get away with it." I said, "Fair play, boy. Go on, F off." I wasn't daft. I knew I couldn't fight buckshot, so I had to leave it. If I'd felt in the mood, then who knows what would have happened, gun or no gun. I admire the boy's pluck, though. In my second pro fight, I think I fought Billy Winter, another big muscular black guy. Billy Winter was put down as Joe Bygrave's double, but he looked just like him. I think I stopped him in the fourth or fifth. There's only one fellow I lost to, and that was an Irishman, Big Jim Mulligan. I had him rocking him round one, and after that I had him rocking for another round. He shouldn't have lasted out. I think I caught him on the hop. Big Jim Mulligan, he used to be a bouncer as well. He was a big hairy bastard. It was like being in the ring with a bear. He even looked like a grizzly bear. The first fight I had with him, Jim was at a sporting club in London. It was all posh tables and a dicky bow job. The fight went the full distance. The second time I met him, it was up in Manchester. I had him reeling and he's ready to go down. I thought he would go another round, and Eddie Thomas said, "He's ready, he's there for you now." F me, but I just couldn't effing catch the bastard. The fight went all the way to the wire and was on the points again. After this, I had more trouble and more street fights, and I lost my boxing license for the second and final time. You don't get it back after the second time. That was the end of my boxing career. Eddie Thomas rightfully called me a stupid idiot, but he never lost touch with me. I might as well put the letters GBH after my name. That's how much trouble I used to get into. Okay, guys, so that's a short extract from the chapter GBH. Excellent book. Like I say, the link's in the description, and that one's there for my Welsh followers who've been requesting a piece on that. And I thought it only right to do an extract from the words from the man himself. And obviously, if any of you buy the book, I have no affiliate with it or anything like that. It just earns him or his family or whoever it is who owns the right